Okay, Super Surfers, today we're going to review our fractions so we can learn some more. Yesterday we talked about parts of a whole in fractions. So we had the part at the top is the numerator because it's the number of parts we're counting, or the shaded parts that we will be counting for our fraction. The bottom is the whole. How many parts make up a whole piece of pizza? Remember, before you cut it, it's a whole. When you put the slices in, that's how many parts make up the whole. And that's called the denominator. We have one whole, which on our number line is just 1, halves, 2 equal parts make up the whole, written 1/2, half. We have thirds, where 3 equal parts make up the whole, 1/3. And then we have fourths, where 4 equal parts make up the whole, and we call that 1/4 for each piece. All right, now we're going to learn about fifths, sixths, and eighths. So as we know with fractions, a lot of times they have that sneaky TH at the end. And fifths, kind of sounds like 5. So I know that fifths are going to have 5 equal pieces. And these are a little tricky to draw. So sometimes it just takes some practice. Okay, so now I'm going to shade in one piece so we can find it on our number line. The numerator is 1 because that's the number of shaded parts in a whole. My denominator is going to be 5 because I know that 5 equal pieces make up the whole. On a number line, I know that I need to split it into 5 equal parts. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I'm going to shade in 1/5. So this is the first piece with a nice closed circle. So here is 1/5 using our pizza pie way and the number line. But if that still isn't working, we're going to use our construction paper way. So I'm going to fold it like an accordion, just like we do with thirds. I'm going to keep folding it. Okay. Now I'm going to correctly label each part, making sure that my numerator is 1 and my denominator is 5. And remember, that fraction bar will keep them separate. Okay, and ta-da, here we go. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts. I'm going to grab my whole just to make sure that 5/5 equals a whole. I line it up nicely. I don't see any overlapping paper, so I know that 5/5 really does equal 1 whole. Awesome. Let's move on to sixths. Sixths are going to have 6 equal parts. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and nicely write sixths on my board. It's just like 6, the word, and then you add our fraction TH. And I love to draw 6 because you draw a whole, and then you cut it in half, and then you just draw a big X. So here's one side, and here's the other side, and those are my 6. I'm going to shade in the slice that Ms. Lefus gets to eat. Ta-da! I get 1 slice out of how many? 6 parts make up the whole, so my denominator is 6. On a number line, we know that we need to split it into 6 equal pieces. So I'm going to cut it in half and then find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1/6 is going to be that first piece, so I put a closed circle on 1/6. And there it is on the number line. But maybe that way is still confusing. So Ms. Lempus gets a piece of construction paper to fold it into 6 equal pieces. So I start by folding my piece of paper in half, and then I'm going to fold it a couple more times. So I should see 3 boxes. So I'm going to say 1 time, and then 2 times. So I see 3 boxes on this side. I'm going to unfold it and correctly label each piece as 1/6 because it's 1 part out of my 6 parts that make up the whole. And ta-da! There we go, 1/6. Again, I'm going to take my whole to compare and make sure that 6 equal pieces, 6/6, equal 1 whole. I don't see any overlapping pieces, so I know that 6/6 really do make up 1 whole. Now we're going to move on to eighths. And eighths may seem a little tricky, but really it's just like what we've been doing with a few more pieces. So there's no need to be scared of eighths. Now it has a sneaky spelling. Okay, and there's my TH. But I love to draw eighths because you make it into fourths, and then you get to draw another X. Alright, so let's see how many pieces I ended up drawing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. 8 equal pieces. I'm going to shade in the one piece. My numerator tells us the number of shaded parts, or the parts that are being counted. So I'm counting one piece, and you just told me that there were 8 parts that make up the whole, so it's 1/8. My denominator will be 8. On a number line, I know I need to split it into 8 equal pieces. So I'm going to start by splitting it in half, and then in half again. So I have 8 pieces. This is going to be 1/8 on my number line. And it has a closed shaded circle. Okay, but again, I'm going to use my construction paper way just in case that is a little sneaky. Okay, so I'm going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to fold it in half again. And one last time. 8 pieces, and I'm going to correctly label and identify them as being 1/8. And ta-da! Okay, 8/8. So now I'm going to take my whole one last time to compare. I want to make sure that 8/8 is equal to 1 whole. I don't see any overlapping paper, so I know that 8/8 do equal 1 whole. So now we're going to learn about unit fractions. As we saw on Brain Pop, and we've been learning in Go Math, a unit fraction only counts one part of the whole. So we know that our numerator for any unit fraction is always going to be 1, but our denominator can change. We could be talking about halves or thirds or even eighths. So I'm going to start by looking at 1/2 and 1/3. I know that halves have 2 equal pieces and thirds have 3 equal pieces. But if I look at them on a number line, I see that half is right about here. And this time I want to make the number line about the same size. Thirds are going to have those 3 equal pieces, so I'm going to break that up like this, and a third is going to be about here. Well, I am making an observation. I see that 1/2 is a little bit further ahead than 1/3. That means that 1/2 is bigger than 1/3, and that's very interesting. Let me go ahead and bring in another fraction to see if this is a pattern. I'm going to look at 1/4. Okay, I spy 4 as my denominator, so I know that it's going to take 4 equal pieces to make up a whole. So I'm going to split this into 4 equal pieces. And I see that 1/4 is here, and it's a little bit smaller than 1/3. So I notice that the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece of the fraction. That's very interesting. Let's look at it using our pizza pie way. Alright, so if I draw half, meaning I'm sharing with another friend, Miss Lumpus gets half of the pizza. That's a pretty big piece. But now if I look at thirds, I'm going to draw my whole and split it into 3 equal pieces. And then I'm going to shade in the piece that Miss Lumpus gets. So I'm going to shade in this piece. Now, while this is still a big piece of pizza, I notice that it is smaller than half. I'm going to draw another pizza to learn about fourths. So I'm going to go ahead and split it into 4 equal pieces. And I'm going to shade in the piece that Miss Lempfest gets. Again, this is a big piece of pizza, but it is much smaller than 1/3 and much smaller than half. So I know that the pattern is true. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece of the fraction. Okay? That's a good thing to remember because sometimes it's kind of like the opposite of what we think. Normally we think as the numbers get bigger, the pieces get bigger. But in fractions, they are sneaky. The bigger the numbers, the smaller the pieces get, okay? So just remember, it's the opposite. It's always smaller.